So thank you for all of you and choose to join me online today to talk about the volunteer award. So that is going to be conducted and to be certified and giving out through Quincy Robotics. So thank you. Let's just go right into the agenda for today. And we are going to roughly go through the process to discuss the overview about what is the award we're giving out, and as well as talk about the volunteer opportunity and how you can track the records, how you be able to receive the award. And we will have some time to talk about to have a Q&A, and that for you, for anyone has questions, and we'd be able to answer that. But it should be straightforward enough. So what is the award we are giving out? This is not an award created by QCI on its own. We are joining the program called the President's Volunteer Service Award. In 2003, the President Council on Service and Civil Participation found the President's Volunteer Service Award to recognize the important role of volunteer in America's strength and national identity. This award honors individuals whose service positively impact the community in every corner of the nation and inspire those around them to take action too. The PVSA has continued under each administration, honoring the volunteers who are using their time and talent to solve some of the toughest challenges facing our nation. Led by AmeriCorps and managed in partnership with Points of Light, this program allows certifying organizations to recognize their most exceptional volunteers. And if you want to know more about the program as a whole, feel free to do so. And the QCI choose to participate in this for multiple reasons. And then, I think that for most important reason is it is a mature program that in a process has a recognition by other organizations. So we want to give our volunteers something that they can put on their resume, they can put on their portfolio to be recognized. This is not something just somebody create out of the garage. So it's more meaningful. So what QCI is what we call a certifying organization. A certifying organization is an organization that has been granted authority through an application and review process to give out the PVSA to volunteers. Certifying organization verify and certify that volunteer has met the requirement to receive a PVSA within a 12-month period specified by the certifying organization. In our case, the 12 months period is the competition seasons, typically summer to the following summer. Okay. And Quincy Robotics Alliance was certified in 2024 and launched the program to recognize its volunteer for their outstanding contribution to our community. QCI is only a local resource to track volunteer activity related to its mission and the vision within the scope of QCI and its member teams. Another way to say it is if somebody just doing some volunteer work at the church, at the food bank, and they want to go come through us to get the PVSA certification, that is something we will not do because a resource issue, we cannot track everything, verify everything. It's much easier for us to know the program and the volunteer activity we do within our community. It's much easier for us to identify who is performing what and be able to certify the participation much easier. And that's the reason we choose. We will only certify the volunteer hour that is solely related to all the volunteer activity that initiate or launch or manage by Quincy Robotics itself or one of the program associated with QCI or one of the member team that are doing volunteer outreach work, and they are a direct QCIA teams. Okay. So eligibility for volunteers, and it has to be a United States citizen, a lawful permanent resident of United States, and our the green card holder. And it must be at least 5 years old. That also means if somebody's older brother or younger brother, right, their younger brother is 12-year-old, 10-year-old, but they are participating in the outreach event with QCI or with one of the member team, that volunteer also can be recorded and be recognized moving forward. It has to complete eligible service within a 12-month period, typically um, June for example, this particular cycle, we are talking about June timeframe all the way to May of 2025 will be the 12-month period that QCI is going to count the hour and recognize its employee. Different age group has a different requirement to be certified and winning the award. And you see the matrix underneath over there. The kids 5 years older and only need to somewhere around 49 hours. And when they have more than 50 hours, they go to the silver award, right? So minimum hour is 26 for them to win the bronze. Majority of our student is at the teens and the young adults. So if they are 15 years and younger, is 50 hours, and the younger adult 16 and older. Most of FRC students is over in their range, and the 16-year-old. So it's 100 hours. For the grown-ups, really for majority of mentor, if you want to record your hour to be recognized, is also 100 hour to start with, and up to 250 hour to win the silver award. Now, let's talk about the volunteer opportunity. So this is just a highlight in general what's the opportunity exists today. With a QCRA, and you can volunteer as a staff to support QCI's operations, including such as web design, fundraising, and coordinate all these event planners and project lead. Like in the past year, we have a volunteer help us to do a relocations from our previous location to this new one at Cambridge. That is a chunk of big project. And obviously, we also have other outreach projects, demonstration. Those are also count. The volunteers, such as the students from the robotic teams, if they are joined to support QCI program, such as the summer camp, such as the workshop and demonstration outreach, those programs managed by QCI, if they volunteer in those programs, another way to say it is they are not asking to be a paid interns. We are happy to recognize their effort as a volunteer, and they can accumulate volunteer hour that way. Obviously, volunteer as a lead mentor or mentors, and for all the folks like you, if you want to be recognized, you can record hours, and we're happy to recognize you as a PVSA volunteers. Now, for the students as well as a volunteer with the robotic teams, if they volunteer as a mentor for the team, obviously that will be recognized certifiable volunteer hours. For the student who is support a team activity, including outreach, event, workshop, I would not say working on the robot is volunteering, but if they go to school, like Title I school, teaching the coding program, or after school be a tutor, those are volunteer hour, and we are happy to recognize them. Okay. If you have a friends and you have knowing others want to accumulate these volunteer hours, boost their resume, including your son and daughter in college, for example, want to join and accumulate volunteer hour to boost their resume, happily to capture them and put it in the scope and help them. And QCI do our best to post all our volunteer position on Share Charlotte. So you can go there, visit sharecharlotte.org and search for Quincy Robotic Alliance in the volunteer section, and you can find the volunteer opportunity we post over there. We probably not covering everything for all the detail exception, and you really wonder about which one can be considered or eligible as a volunteer hour for recognition. If you really have other questions, please email to pvsa@quincyrobotic.org for additional questions. Now we'll talk about the mechanic about how to track hours. The easiest way probably is go to QCRA website. You go to up the right hand side, the more you use the pull down menu to click on member only, it will take you to intranet. And on the screen, you can see there's also the URL, unique URL, intranet.quincyrobotic.org will take you to the same page, which is this one you are seeing. There's a screenshot on the upper right hand corner of the screen. And you can see there's a menu bar over there called Volunteer Award. Click on that page, you go to a page look like another picture screenshot capture on the lower right hand corner. And you can see there's a URL over there. You can go directly to that page as well in the future if you are going to record your hour every time when that happens and you want to do it multiple ones. You can also go doing this way and type in the intranet.quincyrobotic intranet.quincyrobotic.org/volunteer dash award. Okay, so you can go to the same page and it will take you there. Once you are in the page, you just scroll down to the middle section. There is like the green screenshot showing over there. There's a volunteer hour inputs. Click on that one. It will take you to a Google form that is going to ask you to fill out all this information. Very straightforward. We collect a lot of similar information to make sure we can properly identify the person need to be recognized and to be certified for the volunteer hours. And from that standpoint, there are a couple of things I want to remind everybody to make the job and make a recognition much easier in the future. The point number one, if you cannot find an appropriate pull down option for QCI, especially QCI affiliation, there are other fields. It also has a pull down menu. There's one of them talking about activity type. You do be able to type in the others, but especially for QCRA affiliations, you definitely don't want to. You actually cannot input yourself. You want to make sure your teams is there. Now it is fine with as we are in the season for a while, all the team has established. But if you are a new teams that we have not registered, we don't have information, or you just registered, you finally got your team's information, team number as well as a team name, but it's not in the pull-down menu. What I would ask you to do is send an email to pvsa@quincyrobotics.org to add that option into the pull-down menu before you submit your volunteer hour, so we can track for you properly. If you put in that wrong, the administrators actually cannot correct your input for you. And I do believe we have a way to remove your record and you can submit one more time. However, we do enable this capability that you can go back to update your record. So that is a way to go. And you also can, every time you fill out the form, it will send the result back to you. So you can accumulate all this email notification to knowing how many hours you actually submit. And the PVSA administration and the QCI will periodically review accumulated hours depending on activity levels to initiate recognition, which is we will acquire the medallion as well as the certificates with your information, and we will get them back to you. It is a cost QCI is going to cover, so we will get those information and then back to you. Uh, if you plan to um, volunteer up to gold level, obviously there's a lot of hours through a season. You don't have to wait until end of year to be recognized just at the gold level. We once we know the activities over there, we will recognize appropriately as much as we can with our limited resource. Keep in mind, QCI is a volunteer-run organization, and we do have a very limited resource. But once we know you have enough hour, and then that's the second point is you can send an email to PVSA at quincyrobotics.org if you have enough hour, but we have not recognized you yet. You can send the information, give us a reminder, just kind of nudge us a little bit, and we will get the process going for you. Okay. Then in the form that we will jump back to the form a little bit later, but the one thing we will talk about is supporting documents. In order to certify your hours, we have to have a way to make sure your volunteer activity is actually true. And there are three things we list out as a reference for you to consider and your team to consider to send and validate your volunteer hour. The first one is a picture from the event, right? You take the pictures, especially if you got a metadata with no exactly that pictures from the event. That's awesome. When you submit the information, you do have an area you can put in to talk about, say, what is your volunteer activity, and explain a little bit and explain what is pictures for, right? So you can submit, and by the way, you can submit more than one document to the form. So once you submit the pictures, it will have a multiple benefit for us, including it will help us to recognize the volunteer activity on the social media where picture is the king nowadays. So it is very important to have that. If your volunteer has a formal certification issued by the event organizer or the hosting event, that is awesome. We can have those information is also help us to do a social media posting if that is okay with you. And one of the things a lot of times, like a team doing the outreach event, you got a 3 or 4 students go at the same time. You don't have to, as a lead mentor, you don't have to write a letter or email individually to recognize or certify their volunteer hour. If you can send in the email with say, hey, here's all the people show up, they show up volunteer this many hours, and put that in the email, and the student can do a screenshot, or they download that as a printout as a PDF file to submit. That is awesome way to go, and don't put an extra burden on the lead mentor. So from the lead mentor standpoint, I think that is the things you really want to, once you go through the event, you come to a conclusion, say this is how many hours, volunteer hours. If you can send the information to your students so they can submit and to be recognized down the road, that probably is a very, very positive way of enforcement to encourage more volunteers in your teams. Okay. So put the extra over there. QCI photo policy is applicable for the pictures submit. If you want to know more about QCI photo policy, go to the volunteer handbook, and it's there. And we also have included that as a part of the in the consent form, so you can take a look. With that being said, I want to just click this. So this is the Google Sheet, and you can see it's very straightforward. It does require everybody to put it in log in Google in order to send this to fill out the form so we can keep track. Unfortunately, I believe Google limit that you have to be a Gmail or like the QuincyRobotics.org is a Google Workplace solution. So we are part of Google's email server. The bright side is Gmail is free. So whoever wants to submit this information, you might, if you don't have one, please create one. You go through a process, you put the first name, last name, age, and we asking all the information that PVSA asks us to track. And then you can just use a pull-down menu and talk about, say, if are you a student, a mentor, and a volunteer. So go all the way down. You put in your volunteer day, when you start, when you end, and the total hour you volunteer. So we will add it up down the road. So if you go to the website and here is the volunteer hour, you can see down below, there are 4 records. It's just testing data. Once we have a real data, I am going to wipe them out. So you can see who is doing the volunteering. And for the lead mentor, you can see how many students from your team is volunteer, and you can total the number together. And this one directly from the Google form, be able to show all this information. We do want to track this for a long term, and we will evaluate if other database solution is necessary for us to migrate over. Okay. With that being said, that is all the things we are going to present and record today. Any questions? You can unmute your microphone if you got any questions. But overall, it's very straightforward. And I hope this is going to be something, be a win-win situation for everybody, that we as a nonprofit can increase our impact in this community with all the volunteer support, as well as for volunteer to have a way to recognize their contribution to the community. They really can put on their social media, their LinkedIn page, and to showcase their volunteer service and to be recognized properly. Okay, please go ahead, ask.
Yeah, so can we use hours from previous years as well?
No, we do not. So we will recognize it by seasons. So we are really talking about this year. So 2024, 2025, we don't have a plan to backtrack to previous season, 2023 and 2024 season.
And then
We are not certified for that year anyway.
oh, so for next year, will we also ha not be able to use the year previous hours?
Correct.
Uh,
Thank you.
um, what about this year? You said we were going to also be doing it for this year, right? But what if
Yes.
so
So you volunteer in this season, right?
yeah.
Which means the volunteer hour you did in the past summer, right? So if that's roughly, we say roughly July 2024, we will say, yep, okay.
uh, But so I have like over 60 hours, 60, 70 hours just here. But you said we need proof. So can we get like a mentor to like give a statement for us? Do we need like photos or something for proof?
Photo is preferred. Again, you can see there are 3 different things we are talking about. So what you're talking about is a validation letter from the lead mentor, right?
Okay.
So if they are willing to verify, and especially on your teams, if they have a clock in, clock out or sign out sheet, that's very easy for them to take a screenshot to say exactly you actually did your job. Those are awesome data to support your volunteering hour.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is the like age requirement for like if you're a certain age, like how many hours will you get as like
So
reward?
yeah, you can. Do you see the screen showing over here? It's on PVS's website. It's also on our page when you are putting this when you go into your volunteer work. tracking. So for teenagers, 11 years old, 15 years old, bronze is 50 to 74 hours. You got a silver if you volunteer for more than 75 hours. Obviously, 100 hours, you got gold. And I do know our team, Yati, has a 100-hour requirement, so we should have a lot of gold certified volunteers this year. That's a hope, anyway. Oh, but 100 hour is for 15 years and older and 15 years and younger. And if you are like high school senior, that would be a little bit tougher. And because 16 years older, it requires 250 hours. We have to go through the criteria set by PVSA. Any other questions?
It's a question extending the same one. So is what will be the cutoff? Like I do see that there is a range of 11 to 15. So for somebody who's like 15 or 16, like what is the typical cutoff? I did search in PBS and I could not figure out.
My answer would be their age as they go into the fall semester. As a certifying organization, I prefer we go with the same kind of rule. I am not memorize everything from the first website, because if you are talking about first website, they also has a cutoff whether you can join FRCT or not, ninth grade or older. And I think they say that is a 15 years old or ninth grade. So we will operate the same way. So if you are a 16-year-old to first, it will be a 16 years old to this volunteer award as well. Same criteria.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? If not, I'm looking forward that we will have a lot the volunteer be able to be certified to have award. Obviously, running this program take time. That's also one of the opportunity for, especially for adults, to volunteer to run this program. And because we can use help when we have a lot of volunteer be able to qualify, certify, we have to do two things. We have to track all the record and we have to fundraise to support this program. So that is another volunteer opportunity. With that being said, if there's no other question, I appreciate everybody's time, and we are going to end our presentation for today now. So thank you. I wish everybody have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.